Welcome to Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital, promoting prosperity and harmony to help you flourish in all areas of life. Join in as we explore the motivations and goals of real estate investors and how their ability to invest abundantly has provided them with the time and freedom to contribute to the world in a creative and thoughtful way. Now please welcome your host, Dr. Allen.
Welcome to Creekside Chats, where our guests provide inspiration for us to flourish abundantly in all areas of life through successful real estate investing. I'm your host, Dr. Allen. Today's guest takes us on his personal journey from small duplex investor to the owner of Smart Asset Capital. His story inspires us through his example of hard work and dedication that leads to ultimate success. Welcome to the show, Brock Mogensen.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
Pleased to have you. Let's talk a little bit about a major fork in the road where you've come to, and the decision you've made has made all the difference.
It's a good question. So I think it would have to be when I was deciding which path in real estate I wanted to go down. I think, everyone knows there's a million different ways you can go in real estate. And when I first started, I started with a duplex. And then from there, I didn't really know which path I wanted to go down. I spent some time trying to do, the flipping, the wholesaling. Ultimately didn't really, I guess I never really found a deal to flip. And that's kind of where I decided to pivot over to multifamily syndication, essentially. And that's where I spent the next 6-7 months really understanding, the business, and specifically spent time learning the underwriting side of the business. And that really led to me partnering with the right people and, scaling pretty quickly from there. So if I had to think about it, I'd say that, I guess was kind of a blessing that I didn't find a deal, because then I maybe would have gone down that path. Not saying that's a bad path, but I really like the path I'm going down now.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people go through that particular phase when they're looking into real estate. It seems so much easier to get into single family and into flipping, and probably the reality of it is there's a lot more challenges there with a lot less ability to scale. So it's good you found the path that you're on there. Well, think back to your childhood and think of a formative experience from your early years. You probably didn't think of it as that at the time, but as you look back on it, you go, yeah, that really helped me to be who I am today.
I would say one is, at the time, right, I didn't really know what it meant, but now looking back on it, it's really, really meant a lot. Growing up in a house hack, essentially. So I grew up in duplexes with my family. And that's really kind of what got me into real estate, as my dad owned a few duplexes. So I actually spent most of my childhood in a few different duplexes growing up. Looking back on it, I mean, it wasn't anything huge, I was living in a duplex. But, kind of think about it now, that's how I started in real estate, was with house hacking a duplex. And really just looking back at how much, real estate was able to provide for my family, even just on a smaller scale of a few duplexes. That's what really got me into real estate, looking back on it. So I guess from a childhood perspective, I guess that did shape quite a bit of where I've gotten to in real estate.
Yeah, well, that was a good example to follow after there. House hacking is a good way to get into real estate because you can't lose. It's just, there's really no downside to it. You get the tax benefits of large scale investing. You can probably afford your mortgage if your tenant moves out, and it's never 100% vacancy, particularly if you're 50% of the deal there. So yes, a good way to get into it. Well, it's nice to talk about our successes, but we know that to be successful, people have to deal with setbacks and disappointments. So talk to us about a major setback and disappointment in your life. How did you move through that? And what did you learn from the experience?
I guess I would say, specifically deal related, One thing going forward now, we do on all of our deals is raise enough capex coming into a deal, enough, cash on the side for anything that might happen. On our first larger deal we didn't necessarily raise enough, I would say, looking back at it. So now going in any deal, I make sure to have plenty of cash reserves on each deal, almost over exaggerating it. And that's one thing we've been able to battle through it and get back to where we needed to be from that perspective. But I guess specifically, talking about real estate transactions, that was a lesson I learned early on through one of the deals, was always raise extra capital to just have it sit there. Even if you're not necessarily going to use it, it's always good to have it there just in case for any unforeseen things that might happen throughout the deal cycle.
Because there's always unforeseen.
Exactly.
And yeah, and if you're not ready for it, it can be quite painful. Well, talk to us, Brock, a little bit about your transition here, and the processes you actually went through. You mentioned that you were looking to do flips and there just weren't any available. And, that is, the gurus out there will never tell you this, but that is so dependent upon the area in which you live, unless you want to invest outside of your particular area. But they never tell you that. But
Yep.
but talk to us about your transition from the single family arena to the multifamily arena. Just kind of give us a step-by-step process in not only the realization you had, but the actual on the ground nitty-gritty processes that you yourself have had to go through to get to where you are.
Yeah. So essentially, like I said, so I started with a duplex, did the house hack thing, did that for a while. And that's where I kind of pivoted and decided I wanted to go after larger deals. And that's where the whole syndication concept kind of came about. And that's kind of the means I found how I was going to get there. So from there, I kind of quickly realized that I wasn't going to be able to do it on my own. Getting after these larger deals requires experience, net worth, lots of capital, stuff I didn't have. So I kind of decided I would spend some time learning one piece of the syndication process. And then once I kind of became, affluent in that piece, I could then go out and find partners that lacked that piece. So that was kind of my strategy going into it. I decided to choose underwriting. Analyzing deals was kind of the piece I saw I might enjoy, and I could kind of naturally analytical. So I figured that'd be a good piece to go into. So I really spent like 6 months or so just, reading as much about it, videos, podcasts, as much as I could find, content, underwriting, practicing, and got to a point where I felt pretty comfortable analyzing deals. From there, I decided, I went out and started networking, connected with one partner through Bigger Pockets, actually just, networking through there. Shortly after that, we came across our first larger deal. And between the two of us, kind of quickly realized we didn't have enough experience to do that bigger deal on our own. So that's where we brought in one of his other buddies. And that's where us three formed our company now, Smart Asset Capital. And we went on to do that deal and then a few others shortly after that. So that was about a little over a year ago now. And now we have our company together, and it's been great. And I've been able to now kind of learn other pieces of the business and kind of scale together through that.
Well, interesting process there. As you talk to us, you make it sound as though it was an easy thing to do, and I can't believe that it really was that easy. There were so many challenges along the way too, and hurdles that you really had to jump, more than just learning to do the underwriting. You had to be able to find a way to actually find the deals. This is a really competitive market, and it's difficult to find deals. So you had the analytic ability, and so who had the ability to actually go out and find the deals?
I'd say really, all three of us kind of spend time on finding deals, broker relationships. My one partner does have a lot of relationships in the area, just through his other real estate businesses he has. So that helped a lot. The first deal we found was actually kind of all three of us almost came across at the same time type thing. Was actually under contract previously, followed up with the broker, fell out of contract, and we kind of, came in at the right time, got it for the right price, type thing. But yeah, I think that's one piece where we all, maybe one of the few pieces where we all kind of intersect and spend a lot of time on is finding deals, right? I mean, that's one of the most important pieces of real estate is finding good deals. So we all put time into that. But then aside from that, I'd say we each kind of have our own specialties. Like I said, the underwriting, I've kind of naturally gravitated toward some asset management stuff and reporting, tracking KPIs, that sort of thing. My partners are more stronger on the sales side, and they, naturally gravitate more towards capital raising side. Obviously, all of our paths intersect at different points, but I really think a good partnership is like that, where you have, one person is really strong at one piece, the other person is strong at the other piece, and you focus on your pieces. But yeah, it's been a great partnership so far through those different pieces.
Well, what kind of major advice would you give to someone just starting out in real estate investing? They may be in the same situation you were in. They may be looking at flipping or maybe just house hacking, but yet they also want to scale. So what are some words of wisdom and advice that you could give to a person just getting started?
I would say first spend some time learning what path in real estate you want to go down. That was one of the mistakes I made early on, was just kind of trying to go every different path. So I think first define what path you want to go down, and then just spend a lot of time on the education process. Don't be scared to, spend, 6 months to a year just learning about it instead of just going and, buying the deal right away, because that's how you make mistakes. Like you mentioned, I think house hacking is a great way to get started. It's really relatively low risk. As long as you find a decent deal, you can get in there, live in it, and usually live for free. You make a little bit of money and then you move out, and then you make your money off it all of a sudden. So I think that's what I always tell people, a great way to get started is if you're at that point in your life where you can, do that, I think it's a great way to do it. But yeah, from there, just once you get that first deal done, just spending time learning, consuming as much knowledge as possible, not being afraid to even pay for courses and stuff. Because that knowledge piece is huge and can save you lots of money down the road for making mistakes.
What advice do you have in terms of developing partnerships?
I think it comes down to just networking, going out there and, physically getting out there and meeting as much people as possible, and then making sure your business goals align. So once you define what path in real estate you want to go down, you want to make sure your partners have that same vision. You don't want to have the path of you want to go into flipping a whole bunch of houses and then they want to do buy and hold, because there's just gonna be a lot of things that happen that aren't going to align. So I'd say once you define that, just go out and find people that, first off you like, and also look for someone that might complement your skill set. If you're weak in one part, maybe they're strong in that part. Those are usually good partnerships. But just getting out there and meeting as much people as possible, and not being afraid to take your time. Partnerships are really like a marriage almost. So you want to make sure you're signing contracts with these people. You want to make sure that you're setting yourself up right.
And what are some, what are some warning signs in terms of developing partnerships? What should you look out for to avoid?
That's a good question. I mean, I'd say maybe if, you're finding someone that they want to get into a deal really quickly and you might not be ready yet, or if they're asking you to put up all this money and they're not going to be putting up any, stuff like that, or even deep down in your gut, if you believe like your visions aren't aligning, stuff like that is super important. Because you have to make sure your visions align, right? You don't want to get in with someone that might be trying to blindside you down the long path, because these deals you're getting into usually are going to be longer term holds, depending, for us, usually it's 5 to 10 years on these deals. So that's a long time. You want to make sure that you can see yourself 10 years from now still working with this person, not just, it sounds like a good idea right now, but I don't know where I'm going to be a few years from now. you have to have those difficult conversations of, what is this going to look like 10 years from now? Are we still gonna be working together? What happens if, you want to have legal contracts drawn up? What's going to happen if, this happens or that happens? You want to play out the scenarios to make sure everything aligns for the long term.
Well, talk to us a little bit about where you find your purpose and meaning. What inspires you? What keeps you going when the going gets rough?
I'd say really just defining like your why you want to be in this, right? It's a lot of work, and it takes a long time to get creating wealth through real estate, as everyone knows. So really, I defined a why, and that can include an array of things, all the way from, future goals, charitable contributions I have for goals in that aspect, physical items that I'd like to purchase, but, anywhere from that. I think you really have to spend time thinking and, reflecting on your goals is a huge part of it as well. So I think early on, I just defined, why I wanted to create wealth through real estate, what my life goals were. And I saw real estate as being a great way to kind of design my life the way I wanted it to be. So I think that and obviously those are always going to change as time goes on. You might pivot and decide you want to do this instead, as far as goals or your why. But I think always having that in the back of your mind of, this is why I'm doing it, and this is why I'm putting in the hours, because I'm designing my life from this aspect, I think is crucial.
Well, Brock, we're coming to the end of our time here. Before we go, tell our viewers and listeners how it is that they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so I can, on my website, that's at smartassetcapital.com. I have some free ebook downloads on there. If you want to check out on a few different topics, from, finding deals, analyzing deals, asset management. I usually publish stuff there. Otherwise, people can reach out to me at Brock, that's BROCK, at smartassetcapital.com, and happy to talk to anyone.
Well, Brock, it has been a pleasure having you today. So thanks so much, Brock, for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me on, Alan.
Thank you for joining us on Creekside Chats with Successful Real Estate Investors, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital. For more information, as well as access to our free ebook on enhancing your well-being through real estate investing, be sure to connect with us at steedtalker.com. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steed Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine and enhance the humane treatment of horses worldwide. Steed Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. Connect with us at steedtalker.com.